Hello everybody, welcome to Live Taps and Backstabs. It's new video day today because it is patch notes day. We have a patch for Pantheon Rise of the Fallen. This is my YouTube channel where I talk about my favourite game. It's the only game I play, but we'll also talk about my my love for the Rogue, the Necromancer, the Dire Lord, and also now the Enchanter. There's going to be an Enchanter video coming later this week as well as a Rogue kind of walkthrough of all the skills and everything. We've got an awful lot of skills to go through for the Rogue, and I've got thoughts and kind of feedback on pretty much every single one, so that'll be a really fun video to do. However, it is patch notes day today, and the patch notes that we have got are quite interesting. We are on April the 2nd and we are on build that's the build that we're on. So 2.8 at the end, there we go. That's the build that we're on. So we're going to very quickly have a flick through and we're going to have a look at all the patch notes and see what is what on this new build of Pantheon. So starting off, we've got the general patch notes for today, and they're nice and simple, they're nice and straightforward. So the corpses of NPCs killed by guard NPCs will now quickly decay since they are not lootable by players, which is really useful because I was always wandering around some of the areas, and also the guards wander. They used to wander an awful lot down by Newbie Alley, and you'd be like, oh, I need to skin some rats to get some what are they called? What are they called when you skin a rat? Anyway, the tattered pelts, and they'd just be all over the place, and you wouldn't be able to loot them because the NPC guards had killed them. So they now decay really quickly. They go, that's great, it's fine. Please stop wandering and killing so many of them. So they have adjusted the water physics a little bit so that the player doesn't go quite so deep when falling into the water, which makes falls into water a bit more survivable than before. I fell into the water in Silent Plains. There's a river that runs through the middle of Silent Plains. I jumped in because we were crossing the river, my group. I jumped in that water, I went straight down to the bottom, and my swimming wasn't good enough to get back up to the top. I very nearly drowned, which was nuts. So yeah, thankfully now when you jump in, you don't fall as far. I did resolve that. I sorted that out and leveled my swimming, so it's fine now. I don't do that anymore. So trying to salvage something that isn't salvageable should show a message now, which is good. Side note on this, what is actually salvageable? Because some of the things that I think should be salvageable aren't. Reduced the font size of the title on the quest journal header, so the NPC quest givers no longer names should fit better, or with longer names should fit better, such as Foreman Aldeus, which is good. So I play on a 4K screen, and the screen that I use is kind of I shrink everything down anyway, so small text I really like anyway, so which is really good. Player pets will no longer move to attack targets that are deemed too far away. This is good. I like this change. There is a bit of a bug. I don't know whether it's going to affect the White Wyvern, but you can pull the White Wyvern from being up at the top of the cave by selecting, targeting the White Wyvern and then sending a Shaman pet in. Now, I don't know, because you are technically above the White Wyvern, I don't know whether the pet is still going to be able to go that distance, but pet pulling the White Wyvern is bad. I don't like things like that anyway, so that's good. So pet pulling, no longer a thing, which is great. Adjusted the drag and drop a little bit so that there needs to be a bit more movement before dragging begins, which should mean less instances where you drag a hotbar ability by mistake when you are trying to just click it to activate it. This is good, I like that. So this is when you are clicking on your abilities. Occasionally if you held and clicked just a little bit too long, it would pick that up as a drag, or if you were clicking and quickly trying to click or something, anyway, it would drag it off. So that's good that they've just kind of limited that down a little bit. They've added a brief delay before the ability tooltip appears. Oh, thank God. That's really good. That's really good, because hovering over your tooltips on your ability bar, you would just have of all the abilities kind of like just lining up. So being able to kind of navigate across the navigate across the buttons now without the tooltip popping up, which is really good. If you could have that adjustable in the settings, that would be even better. But yeah, this is a good step. Spell power contribution for damage shields adjusted. Ooh, that's going to be an interesting one. I don't know how that's going to work, whether that's going to be adjusting the damage shields up or down. If you have high spell power, does it now not affect damage shields as much? We'll have to log in and see. Auto attack with a ranged weapon, such as a bow, now requires line of sight to the target. So you can't shoot through. I used to do this on the road quite a bit. You can shoot through rocks. You used to be able to shoot through rocks. So when the mob was running away, you could just like sit down and just kind of keep, well, not sit down, but you could stay where you were, and it would just kind of keep shooting at it as it ran away, and then it wouldn't aggro things that are nearby as well. So that's those. We've got a few bug fixes here as well. So they have fixed an issue that happens sometimes with looting coins from mob corpses. They don't say what the issue was, but they fixed it. The alchemy combinations for the lesser essence of the forest should now be more consistent in their required ingredients. I don't do alchemy. I really should, so I should probably get into alchemy and have a look at that. Fixed an issue where the Harrowed pet was getting stuck in place after its master engaged in combat. It will now just follow the master even during combat, which is brilliant. Want that little dog following you around everywhere. This is going to be very happy for everybody. Fixed dwarf female armor body rendering. I've got a couple of careful how I say this. I've got a couple of dwarf female friends in game, and they were particularly upset when they were running around basically topless. So they have fixed a bug where NPCs sometimes weren't fleeing when they should have been. I think this was happening all over the place. I was talking to some friends last night. This has been happening everywhere. So this has now been fixed. So that's good. Some crash fixes. Don't know what they are, but there's some crash fixes. Fog rendering fixes. Now this is really good. Occasionally pretty much all the time, when you were either walking into a foggy area or the fog was just kind of descending, it would go kind of like all white. So I'm guessing they've now kind of softened that so it gets a little bit softer as it renders in. Side note of this, Visionary Realms, if you do watch any of my videos, and I hope you do, please don't put fog on quite as much. Like, it's really cool. Like, I can if I show you the video. So this is over in Wild's End. Look how foggy it is. Like, you can't see anything. Everything's foggy and murky. The game is gorgeous. The game is really pretty. Let us see the game, please. Stop. Like, the fog is fine for a little bit of atmosphere for 10 minutes. But we were in Wild's End last night, and I don't think it was clear for the entire time we were in Wild's End, which was 3 hours. So we were in Wild's End for 3 or 4 hours. Anyway, just lower the level of fog. Like, the fog is fine, just less of it, please. There needs to be more clear, sunny days in Terminus. Thank you very much. They have fixed an issue with the small lake outside the AVP entrance to the Barrow Dark that was causing an issue where the players would sometimes appear to be underwater when they really weren't after entering and leaving the lake. So that's excellent, especially because it's on the entrance to the Barrow Dark, which is the little ogre cave. So that's good. Auto combining of stackable items. Everybody's going to love this one. Everybody's going to love this one. Auto combining of stackable items when they are right clicked into the bank is now re-enabled on a trial basis. We believe we have fixed the issues that it was causing when it was previously in the game. So the issues that it was causing was being able to loot your corpse. There are still some issues when you're looting your corpse, but hopefully they've kind of addressed those and sorted those out and combined it with being able to kind of stack items straight into the bank as well. However, be aware that if we start seeing issues with it, we may have to disable it again, which we can do without requiring another patch. So they can do that server side, just kind of like flick a switch. This is excellent. For those of you who don't know what this is referring to, when you opened your bank, if you had a falcon feather, anything, this applies to anything, but I'm just using a falcon feather as an example. If you had a falcon feather in your inventory and a stack in the bank, if you right clicked the falcon feather, it would go onto the stack in the bank. At the moment, when you right click it, it just goes anywhere. So you just end up with multiple items of it everywhere. And that was like an ongoing joke in the game, that you were doing like the bank quest of opening up the bank and going through and trying to find duplicates and stacking everything up. Now everything auto stacks. So take advantage of it while it's there. Fingers crossed we don't get any issues with looting corpses and stuff. Items in player corpse bags now show the proper loot tooltip, and both right and left click work to loot the item, which is brilliant. Excellent, excellent, excellent. They have fixed an issue where quest items gave an error about the item not being needed when players try to loot them from the corpse. Also good, another kind of a player corpse loot issue which seems to have been fixed. They've also fixed an issue where the player pets were teleporting to their target in certain cases. Might be linked to the pet pulling thing as well. Abilities that teleport your group, such as the Wizard Gateways or the Druid Stone abilities, no longer teleport group members who have died but haven't released yet. That's really cool, actually. That's really good. They have fixed a couple of cases where chests could be stuck open and not interactable, which is always great. And they have fixed an issue with switching from one crafting station to another not working properly. Oh, thank God. Yeah, no, that's really, really good. It was not working just because it was like really buggy, so that's really, really cool. So just kind of a little bit of user experience, UI, UE kind of thing there, which is excellent. Right, let's get on to the NPC stuff. Okay, the interesting things. So we've got some classes and NPC. The first NPC bit. NPC mitigation scaling for lower level group NPCs has been adjusted, and in brackets has been reduced. I cannot state how, not important, but like how exciting this is. I mean, it's not even exciting, but just like dying to Grey Con group mobs, as most classes in the game. There are some classes like Dire Lords and like Shaman and things like that, which are okay, and Clerics just never die because they're /God mode. The ability now to maybe survive some of these fights with the lower con, like Grey Con mobs, and maybe even the light blue ones, is brilliant. So if you have some areas which you want to go and try and like not particularly farm, but if you want to go and try and see if you can get some drops from some of the lower level areas solo on classes like rogues, oh thank goodness, and things like that, then go and try that. That's really, really cool. Okay, so classes. Techniques providing unique states have had their cooldowns reduced and unified. So this is another one of those normalizing everything. So I'm guessing all the cooldowns are now going to be 30 seconds. So that's okay. I'm going to get onto something later in the patch notes where I don't agree with kind of normalizing things, but this is fine. Like normalizing techniques across the board so that my technique has got the same cooldown as a enchanter or a shaman or a dire lord in the group is good. That's absolutely fine. So dire lord changes. They've changed the Dire Lord Essence bar background to be more colorblind friendly. I've got a number of friends who are Dire Lords who are colorblind, and they are going to be very excited about this because it's not even a bright red like the you can see it actually up here in the top of the screen up here on Diab's bar there. That dark red bar is the essence generation bar. It's not even like a bright red that you can see. So yeah, it was particularly difficult to see. So now that has been changed. Interesting to see what colour it'll be. Blood Fiend healing has been adjusted to compensate for the passive buff healing while the activated portion is triggered. Healing removed from on-tick events bleeds. So the healing has been removed from bleeds. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, okay, so we'll have to see how that how that transpires. I mean, Bloodfiend was super strong for Dire Lords anyway, so I was kind of expecting it to start to be slowly kind of pulled back and reined in a little bit. The healing removed from on-tick events bleeds. I hope that's not what I think it is in the fact... excuse me, in the fact that things like splatter now are just not going to heal you at all. So that's going to be not as interesting, because the ability to splatter 3 mobs in front of you and kind of draw the life force from 3 of them was really, really fun and really cool. Please, Visionary Realm, stop removing the fun, cool things out of the game. Anyway, so the Druid fixed an issue where the Herode's Flame was resetting mobs. The ability no longer generates threat. I have played with some druids. I'm not particularly great. I'm not particularly tuned up on what their abilities are. So if you're a druid, pop your comments down below on what you think these changes are going to be. Gust of the Wind and Gales, however, have been switched to instant cast, which is cool. Rockvine Tangle Snare has been increased significantly, so you now have an even bigger snare, as has Grapevine Snag Snare has been increased, and the Vine Woven Snare percentage increased. The dot component has been removed. So I think these are the 3 kind of little levels and the tiers of the snare ability that you get. So the highest level 1 now has probably got the highest snare percentage by quite a long way. And then the Stone Vine Snag Snare percentage has been increased as well. They have fixed the Herode's Flame ability so that it can't be cast on a group member unless they are within 30 meters, which is brilliant. I think everybody knows that the Druid pet could heal somebody across the zone. So 30 meters now on that range. Gale Weaving should now be correctly listed as a level 26 ability in the Codex. Wildfire Line has a shared 10-second cooldown, and Herode's Flame ranks 2, 3 and 4 have been added. So if you have Herode's Flame and you have leveled up to level 20, level 30, level 40, go grab the new rank for that spell. The Enchanter. Okay, Enchanters. I've been really enjoying the Enchanters. I've got, if you've noticed in the background of this video, I'm playing in a guild group at the moment. Mazrim in there is a phenomenal enchanter, and watching him kind of manipulate pools and everything has really been the reason why I've started an enchanter and leveled him up, or her up, and she's really good fun. However, the good news is Hush is now an instant cast, which is brilliant. So we can now use Hush as like a bit more of a pull, a bit more of a pulling tool. If you are pulling a caster, then I always used to try and start with Hush. There are certain occasions where I didn't, like if the spell that was being landed or cast first I'm not particularly bothered about, then I'll occasionally pull with something different. But as an instant cast now, that's brilliant. That's great. Just kind of speeds things up. Garvin's Wild Display Stun has been increased to 3 seconds. It used to be 2. Okay. There is another stun as well, because we get lots of stuns. There is another stun as well, which is also 3 seconds. It's still 3 seconds. It always has been 3 seconds, and it is now still 3 seconds. So now this stun is now 3 seconds, and Stupefy stun has been lowered to 3 seconds. So now we have 3 stuns, and they're all 3 seconds, which sucks. The cooldown for Stupefy has now been reduced to 45 seconds. Now, this is the kind of normalizing which I don't like and I don't agree with, because like I was using Stupefy to, if you're pulling and you have 2 mobs coming in, you can stun one of them, lock him and just kind of leave him for 5 seconds while you quickly switch, mez the other one, and then swap back and mez the second before the stun wears off. And things like that and abilities like that are really useful and really important in a skill set and in a set of abilities for your class to allow you to choose which ability you want to use. So Stupefy had a purpose. It was the first stun that I would always try and use. It had a minute cooldown, so if you use it early enough, then you can use it again. Hopefully, you can use it either later in the fight, or you can use it very quickly during the next pull. So I'd always try and use it first. It was always one of those abilities that was like, right, okay, I need a little bit of breathing space on this pull or on this mob or on this situation where I've got 5 mobs around, I can stun one and remove him for, I mean, it's only 5 seconds again, but it removes him for 5 seconds to allow the skill of the chanter to then go and do something else and then come back. So normalizing 3 different stuns now so that they're all 3 seconds, in my opinion, sucks. Stupefy was also 15 mana as opposed to 10 mana, so it was more mana to use it, but it stunned the mob for longer. Now they've reduced the cooldown to 45 seconds, so now the only reason you're now going to be using this stun is because the cooldown's slightly shorter, so you're using more mana for a less cooldown, which I don't agree with. However, mental flux damage has been increased and mind vice damage has been increased. So our nukes and our dots are now going to be doing more damage, which is going to be interesting to see by how much more. So yes, I'm going to have a look at that. I think it would have been fun to put delayed wound in there as well and increase the scalable damage of delayed wound. And of course scalable damage, so it needs to scale with an ability or with a skill. It needs to reference a skill that we have that levels as we level, and then scale that damage with that ability or something like that. So yeah, we're going to do more damage. However, the tool set has now been limited and normalized across our abilities. The Paladin. They've cleaned up hymn and oath rank orders and levels in the codex, so now they just read slightly more sensibly, and one higher rank is now no longer like before an earlier rank, which is good. The Ranger, this is a really, really nice change. They have added a slider to the Ranger tracking window that allows the minimum tracking distance to be reduced to filter the list of mobs that are closer. So you now no longer have to track a mob on the far side of the zone. You can now limit it down to just the area which you want to track, which is great. And they've also, which is even better, they've added a name filter. So you can just type in the first few letters of something that you want to track and it will limit it down. So if you, for instance, if you just want to track the war chief in Hangor, you can just type in war and it will limit it down, and then when the war chief spawns, then it will pop up and it will show you. So that's really, really good. Now the wizard, final one for the classes. Hot, chilled and electrified durations have been increased to 30 seconds, which is really good. And now this one here, they've added Azure Fire at level 2, Azure Ice at level 4 and Azure Lightning at level 6. So the Azure element spells cost 10% of your base mana and they have a shared 10-second cooldown. Each cast grants 1 stack of the respective element, which lasts for 15 minutes. So with a 10-second cooldown, you can put all 3 of them on yourself in 30 seconds. You just have to cast one, wait 10 seconds, cast the next one, wait 10 seconds, cast the third one. So you can have them all on. And then upon reaching 3 stacks of an element, you regain 1 of that focus. So it's a really simple way of gaining focus. I don't know how quickly the stacks are going to stack up. I would imagine reasonably quickly, like 1 every minute or something, I don't know. But yeah, so that's going to be a way of now regaining and regenerating some of your focus, which is really, really good. Okay, quests. Quests are going to be a nice quick one. So the quest for Get Your Hands Dirty, if you know any of what these quests are, by the way, drop them down below. I don't think I've done any of them. So I really need to pull my finger out in terms of the quests. So the quest to Get Your Hands Dirty has been disabled and will no longer be offered to characters. So if you haven't got it, then you're not going to get it. And if you have got it, you can't do it. The item used by the quest is no longer available for purchase. If you have this quest in your journal and you have the item required, you may still attempt to complete it, otherwise you may abandon it. The supply crates for the quest Lost Cargo should now be visible even if you have already finished the quest Lieutenants of Greed. And then dynamic spawning is back. Players who have completed Sins of the Wild should seek out Drazik to see this in action. No idea what dynamic spawning is. And then more quests have been added to Wild's End, which is great. More quests, the better. Although I just need to actually sort some out. I've got some quests which I've finished, which my rogue needs to go back to Wild's End to do, which, as you can see from the video, I actually did last night, but then I gated back without going back to town to hand in the quests. Right, items. Raptor claws, which is really good. So they are a material or a resource. They are now flagged as a crafting material and should work properly in the crafting UI for all schematics that require them, which is great. Halfling blood, however, no longer improperly has the deathbound flag, which is excellent. And then an unusual necklace now has the chance to drop from any of the named NPCs in the Galdassi ruins. Now, the Galdassi ruins, there I did a video about the Galdassi ruins. It's a few videos down. If you haven't tried and you haven't been to the Galdassi ruins in Wild's End, I urge you to go and try it. It's a fantastic temple to try to break into, to then try to kind of keep up with the clearing, to try and keep up with the spawns, because you've got respawns happening behind you all the time. It's a fantastic place. And also the names dropped an unusual necklace, which is the start of a quest, and that's all I'm going to say about it. So if you have got an unusual necklace from the named NPC in the Galdassi ruins, figure out what the quest is, and if you haven't, you can now get that drop from any of the named NPCs in that ruins. The stats on the necklace of Galdassi Ward have been slightly altered to be more in line with the item's lore and purpose. Further changes still to come. This is great, and it will be really, really nice to see what this is. There was mention on the Discord of this necklace being part of a quest line where you gradually power the necklace up, which is really, really good. That's a really interesting and cool way of doing items, so that will be really, really good. Right, now gathering. A few little bits on gathering. Food and alchemy harvesting nodes have been activated for the northern Marvaki Varshas in Wild's End, which is cool. Now, I thought this happened a few patch notes ago, and obviously I'm currently in, well, I'm not currently, but I am killing in the Marvaki marshes in Wild's End at the moment, and I hadn't seen any. So, but I'm sure they popped up a few weeks ago. Anyway, food and alchemy harvesting nodes have now been activated, so you should be able to find some in there. Right, this is a big one. Particularly if you are a jewel crafter. So the amount of iron, silver and nickel obtained from smelting padrium, slitherol and glittering slitherol ores have been rebalanced. So basically, rather than it being all equal across all those three ores, padrium has gone down a little bit, slitherol has kind of evened out, and the glittering slitherol has gone up. So you're going to get more from the glittering slitherol because it's a higher tier harvested ore, and then you'll get less from the padrium because that's a lower tier of harvested ore. So it just kind of leveled it all out a little bit. Okay, crafting. The skill requirements for refining schematics have been normalized across all professions and all material tiers. So skill requirements for refining the schematics, and so yes, so that should now match between all the professions across each of them. So you shouldn't be looking for level skill 60 in one profession and skill 66 in another profession. The purchase prices for some items sold by crafting suppliers have been increased. This is good. To help carpenters on low population services, walnut stain may now be purchased at the crafting supplier, which is great. Okay, so we've got a load of armor smithing in here. So the armor smithing, I'm just going to read through all these schematics. These have all been consolidated into a similar thing. If you already have them, then you can take the extra copies. So if you, for instance, if you have the infused chainmail coat basis and the infused chain braces bases, any of these bases, then you can take them back and you can sell them to the vendors. Okay, so the infused chainmail coat basis, chain braces, coif bases, pauldron leggings, chain gauntlets, and infused chain boots have all been consolidated. The schematics for the runed armor reinforcements have been consolidated, and then schematics for the runed chainmail coat bases, braces bases, the coif bases, the rune chain pauldron, rune chain leggings, and the rune chain gauntlets bases, and the rune chain boots bases have all been consolidated. I'm sure it's a basis, not a basis, but anyway. Schematics for the runed breastplate bases, runed van braces, runed helm, runed spaulders, Runed greaves, runed plate gauntlets, and the runed sabaton bases have all been consolidated. Again, sell them if you've got duplicates. And then the schematics listed above may now be purchased from any armor smithing trainer, not just the ones in Demith, which is great. And then skill requirements for tier 2 and tier 3 armor smithing have been normalized, so they're not all over the place again. It still baffles me that they are all over the place. Surely that's kind of like a workflow of making sure that they're all in the right place when they get put in. But anyway, runed mace heads should now properly accept blood iron and black iron when using a Celestium Dust of Insight and a damaged Insight rune, which is great. Weaponsmithing stat bonuses have been adjusted. I don't know whether this is up or down for tier 1 rare crafted weapons. In some cases, the requirements to create these weapons have been adjusted as well. Alchemy. We have stat bonuses have been adjusted for tier 1 crafted weapons as well. In some cases, the requirements to create these weapons have been adjusted. So that's fletching and carpentry. And then tailoring, we've got loads again of these consolidations as we have with the leatherworking. So we'll just quickly run through all of these. You can skip if you want to, obviously. So we've got infused robe basis, infused tunic, hood, leggings, shoes, gloves, sleeves, and shawl basis have all been consolidated. The infused gi, headband, leg wraps, sandals, fighting gloves, wristbands, scarf bases have all been consolidated. And then schematics for the runed robe basis, tunic, hood, leggings, shoes, gloves, sleeves, shawl basis have all been consolidated. And then finally the gi basis, the runed gi basis, the runed headband basis, the runed leg wraps, sandals, fighting gloves, wristbands, scarf bases have all been consolidated. If you have any duplicates, you can sell them, which is great. Schematics for the rune cords have been consolidated as well. If you have duplicates, you can get the money back for those. And the schematics listed above can now be, as with the other ones, purchased from any tailoring trainer, not just the ones in Demith. And then exactly the same as the previous stuff as well. Tier 2 and 3 tailoring schematics have been normalized for skill requirements. The erudite robe is now actually craftable at the skill level indicated by its schematics, so you don't have to over level now. And the stat bonuses have been adjusted for tier 1 rare crafted cloth armor, and more armor pieces have been renamed. In some cases, the requirements to create these pieces have been adjusted as well. And then we have leatherworking. So very quickly on the leatherworking, this is exactly the same. The infused jerkin basis, cap, breeches, boots, leather gloves, braces, pauldrons basis have all been consolidated. So that's the infused leather stuff. The runed jerkin basis, cap, breeches, boots, leather gloves, braces, pauldrons, they have all been consolidated, and the same for the runed leather straps have been consolidated. And the schematics can now be bought from any leatherworking trainer, and the skill requirements for tier 2 and tier 3 have again been normalized, so they're all the same. Stat bonuses have been adjusted as well for the tier 1 rare crafted. So just to explain a little bit about what all this consolidating means, the infused jerkin bases, basically how it used to work was that you would have a might infused jerkin base or a prowess infused jerkin base, and you had to buy the specific schematic to allow you to use the specific dust. There were just so many of them, and I said for ages that they should just kind of consolidate them through and just have a basis which you then put the different dusts in, and what comes out is the might infused or the prowess infused, whatever. So it's just one schematic, and you put whichever dust you want into it, and you get what you want out. So it's just tidied it up, it's neatened it up, and it's stopped you having a million schematics. I'm sure when all of this came in, this was the easiest way to kind of to get the schematics out to us so that we could build them and make them. But now that they've had a little bit of time, they can make one schematic that does the output for all of the things. Anyway, so yes, all of the schematics that you have or the might infused or prowess infused or whatever, any of those. You can sell all of those, and then you just buy one schematic back. You put whichever dust you want in, and then you get that dusted item out. So hopefully that makes sense. That's it made sense in my head. It's really difficult to explain. Anyway, there you go. So that's what the consolidation of all of those mean. Now, jewel crafting, the number of nickel nuggets required to smelt a nickel ingot have been decreased, which is great, as has the number of silver nuggets. This is really, really good. So you're now needing less or fewer nickel and silver nuggets to make the bars so that you can make the jewelry, which has always been nuts. Like, to make a tiny little earring, you needed like 4 silver nuggets, which was just crazy, or 3 silver nuggets. Salvaging. The skill level requirement for a simple salvaging tool has been lowered to 30, and the basic one is down to 60. And many looted weapons, armor, and shields may now finally be salvaged, which is great. You have to have the appropriate skill level and the appropriate tool to be able to do it, which is good. And then we have some VFX, which is going to be really, really cool. Okay, let's bring these patch notes to a conclusion. We have visual effects, which is always good. Everybody loves some visual effects. So we've got general visual effects. The class ability VFX are being separated into tiers. Now this is really interesting. So at tier 1, at level 1 to 19, so if you are level 1 to 19, you're going to have a tier 1 VFX for your spells. So if you have, for instance, I'm trying to think of a spell, life tap. So you got life tap for the Dire Lord. You have a life tap at level 12ish, a life tap at level 24, and then one at 30 something. Okay, so the tier 1 life tap is probably, I'm just guessing here, is going to have a small version of the VFX. The tier 2 life tap is going to have a slightly larger version, or maybe a more complicated version of the VFX. And then the tier 3 spell effect is going to have a very elaborate, large, maybe more complicated with more sparklies and things. So you're going to have those three different tiers, which is always good. It's always nice to see your power grow as you're leveling, and as your ability in the spells is improving, then the spell gets more elaborate and more impressive, which is always going to be good for the wizard lance, the flame lance and the cinder lance. So I want to see the level 40 massive one land. Right, the cleric. The new VFX for the Coursera Mark spell line. We've got updated VFX for the Divine Healing line. We've got a new casting VFX for the Anti-Undead spell line. And we've got new VFX for the tome buffs. Only appears when the tome is equipped. So what I'm going to do, hopefully, before this video goes out, I'm going to pop online. I'm going to get on my cleric and I'm going to cast all of these for you. And you can see them now. And if I didn't manage to do that, then I just looked like an idiot. Yeah, hopefully that was a video of me doing it on the cleric. Hopefully they're really, really cool. The added short duration Holy Wings effect to inspire allies that only plays on the cleric who cast it. And we've updated all the current cleric spells to use the correct tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 variants of the casting effects at appropriate levels. Now there is also down here, which is really, really cool. Here we go. We have fixed and improved the VFX on the War Gavel weapon that drops from the Ushruk, which is the really cool hammer that my cleric has. So again, it should be in the video. Yeah, a really, really cool kind of white glowing hammer. So I don't know what needed fixing for it, and I don't know how they can improve it. Hopefully it's got like blue sparklies or something, but yeah, anyway, hopefully you've just seen that. So the Necromancer, they've added the missing VFX to the higher level health to mana conversion buff. Oh yeah, oh dear. The missing VFX, I don't like that anyway. It's a weird green, that's the weird green crown thing that sticks out of your head as you're sitting. It doesn't look very necromancy. I don't like it. Yeah, so now it's back if you're a higher level necromancer. The shaman do now get some spells, so all spells should now have their correct tier of VFX determined by the level that they were acquired, which is good, particularly with the shaman, because I think the shaman has had some spells moved around recently. They've updated some of the older VFX for the shaman, and they've added a new VFX for the veil buff line. Maybe he'll look like a bride at a wedding and have like a veil in front of his face. Anyway, all my shaman friends, I love you guys. Right, so that is the patch notes for the 2nd of April. Hope you enjoy them all. They're going to be really, really good fun. And yes, I will log on tonight, see what they're all like. We'll hopefully have already got on and got that video for you for the cleric and waved around the War Gavel a little bit for you. Yeah, thank you very much, everybody. Take care, and I will see you next time. And as always, have fun in Terminus. And if you're on Black Moon, drop Sarlor, Malleus, who's my Dire Lord, or Khalida, who is my Enchanter, and Diablo is my Necromancer, but he's kind of been put on the back burner a little bit until the gnomes appear. So yeah, just drop me a message and say hey, and thank you very much, everybody, and I will see you later. Take care and have fun. Bye.